My name is Miguel Whittle. My student number is S5310571. The course I'm studying is BA Honours Television Productions, and I am doing an interview with an industry professional as part of the Career Pathways unit. And to start with this interview, I'd like you to, could you introduce yourself and just tell me a little bit about yourself in terms of what you do?
Okay. My name's Rob Potter. I'm the owner and managing director and senior producer of Channel 2020, which also trades as 2020 Media International. I started the company, believe it or not, 31 years ago, and so it's been a long journey. In that time, I've set up many other media companies along the way, some of which I've sold off and are now doing incredibly well, and others, have been less successful. But so I started off based in Leicester. And I've been involved in training, and I wanted to get into video. Hadn't really got huge amounts of experience of doing so. So I ended up taking a mega risk, buying a whole bunch of equipment, learning how to use it in my own time, teaching people to use it pretty much at the same time. I was sort of learning in the day and teaching, soon afterwards. And I soon got into a network of people who really knew the industry quite well. I learned from them, set up a company prior to setting up Channel 2020, learned all about it from somebody else, and then went on my own. So the company has been very much involved in a range of different things over the years, from producing corporate videos to producing training, development, TV programs, TV advertising, a very, very wide range of content, tuition videos, videos to sell, people would buy. So a very, very wide range. And we were lucky to get some major clients very, very early on in setting up. So we managed to get in with some big national, international companies, and which has been really the way that we've developed. We've worked mainly with large international businesses and larger scale projects rather than working on smaller scale projects. So that's a bit of a quick introduction, but yeah, do ask me anything else specific to that.
I suppose to go back to, I guess the question would be, could you describe like your career path from where I guess 2020 started, and how it's how your career path has gone to like today currently?
Okay, I mean, bizarrely, the career path started with quite big, biggish projects. So we set up as a small group of around about 5 or 6 people, and we immediately got a job to market and promote Leicester as a city, which was a very huge job to be starting very early on, and that helped us to grow quite quickly. It helped us to get a massive support from local businesses and local, movers and shakers, and I think that from that we sort of gradually built up our client base. We've never really gone out and done any sort of hard sales. All of our work has been developed through creating good quality work that people like, and other people ask questions, who produced that? And that's historically the way that we've developed as a business, not really worrying too much about all these different ways you're supposed to reach new clients. So we've managed to take lots of people with us where they've moved from company to company, and generally we grew over time. I think in the year 2000, I think overall we'd grown to about 160 people. And then as time went on, and we decided that size isn't everything, and we much prefer to be doing what we want to do rather than keep loads and loads of people busy. So we took various opportunities to cut back where we could, and start concentrating on the things we wanted to make rather than just making everything that everybody ever asked us to make. But so the career development, I've gone off on tangents and done lots and lots of different things. I've set up, TV programs that pushed me away from the company for a year or two. At a time, I might go off and, I've done various other projects like, Ofsted education people, for instance, asked me to come in and completely transform their whole media strategy and rebuild their website and can change their branding. So we've had major diversions along the way. And other people have been able to carry on the company and keep that moving. We've been a company that has just wanted to do what we want to do, really, and we do it, because we want to enjoy it. We always came into this type of work feeling quite privileged to do it, and love the opportunity that it provides, that we can almost do any piece of work we ever want to do, depending on our levels of interest. So we can evolve and go off in tangents and do all sorts of other things, because it gives you that complete freedom. If you're pretty good at what you do, people will want to use you in terms of whatever you want to get into. So it's an interesting line of work. It's very, very competitive, and I would never want to end up being involved in working with smaller budgets or lower level clients, because that's where the highest competition is. You get almost less competition in the higher level work that we do. So that's how we've developed generally.
Okay. The next question I want to ask is, what would you say is most challenging about your particular role at 2020?
Dealing with hundreds of things simultaneously. So, I could have 50 projects all on the go at the same time, and keeping a handle on them all is quite relatively stressful. And you have to learn how to overcome that potential stress of dealing with that many things at one time. Particularly when you have, every client has their demands. They want everything quickly. They want things, as high as quality as they possibly can, and they're almost trying to get as much out of you as you can, which you don't blame them for. But so you have to manage all of that simultaneously at the same time. So that is probably the biggest challenge: how to manage time effectively, and how to be very, very disciplined with that, so that you don't end up spending too much time doing something that isn't where the project's not worth it and the client's not paying for it. So you have to be very disciplined in how you work.
Okay, and what qualities do you look for in people who work with you?
Okay, it's changed a little bit over time. Years ago, I quite like training people up, and so we used to have, like academies where we would take people straight out of university and so on. That worked well. It meant that we were taking people on and molding people how we wanted them to be, rather than how other organizations, the industry, wanted them to be. And we have specific ideas of how we wanted people to work. We wanted them to be have a broader range of skills, so that people could edit and shoot, and then would gradually have the capabilities of moving on to be able to sort of direct and do, and possibly be more creative in the development of projects. So I want people who are capable of sort of, expanding their skill ranges, and not to be, I just want to be an editor, because I know that editors get burnt out very quickly. And I like the range, people having a broad range of skills. So I think that's important. In terms of general people skills, I like people to be friendly, helpful, see it as a privilege to be doing this level of work, and to give to that, because it's very competitive. And if we don't have people who work very hard, very conscientiously, and are very passionate about what they do, we won't win. We'll collapse as a business. So unless you have all of that, and you really want the very best from people, it's hard to compete.
So the next question I want to ask is, how would you describe your management style?
Very very hands-on. I don't expect people to do what I wouldn't do. It's not certainly not a sort of autocratic style of top-down management. I absolutely rely on everybody, and so in terms of styling, I suppose I try and be a good listener. I try and understand. My key thing is trying to develop people to become the best they can be, and ask people to move on when it's time to move on. For me, it's don't hang around in an organization, when you need to move on. There's, yeah. So always trying to get the best out of everyone.
So I suppose another question would be, what advice would you give to a new employee within your team/organization?
Say that again, sorry.
What advice would you give to a new employee within your team/organization?
Ask as many questions as possible. Don't worry about feeling foolish, not knowing. Every day, there's things I don't know. Every day, even if I've been doing it this long, there's still things I don't know, and I'm dead honest and say, I don't know what you mean. So you'll always get found out, at the end of the day. So open honesty is key, and try and work well within a team, and people will respect you more if you work within a team, and other than trying to go off on your own. And I think that's the best way of learning as part of a group. But yeah, they would be my main things.
Another question would be, how do you assess progress of an activity or a project?
How would I assess the progress of an activity or project? Obviously, I allocate different tasks to different people. There'll be a project manager. That project manager will be the person who has to oversee that. I will monitor that project with the project manager from time to time. Sometimes I'll just talk to people direct and get a bit of a sense of what's going on. Yeah, we have very specific systems where everybody within the organization knows exactly where we are on projects. Whether it's be preparation, filming, editing, graphics, everybody's pretty much knowledgeable of where everybody else is on a project, because we have administrative systems that plot all those developments.
Another question I think I'd like to ask would be, what would you say motivates you?
Doing things that people like, feeling that I can make a difference, money from time to time. But the main thing is, is the pride in doing something that people like. And that does make a difference. It might make a difference to a company. It might make a difference to an industry. It might make a difference to different people if it's not business orientated. So, and And the other thing that, I'm motivated by is doing new things that nobody else has done. So, and we've done that many, many times in the past. So, historically, we've created the first TV program that wasn't designated as a normal program. It's advocated as a sort of as advertising, but to all looks, to many people, it looked like a normal program. It's the first program. We made the first program that you could buy what you see on TV and by hitting a red button, and then going to an online shop. So just breaking, we were right at the forefront of online TV portals. So just trying to do things, looking at, what's possible has been a big thing that's motivated me over the years.
Another question I'd like to ask would be, where do you see yourself, I guess, in the next 5 years or in the future with 2020?
I have no idea at this precise moment, but all we're going to do, I don't know how long I'm going to be. My main thing is to enable a number of other people to run the business, and for me to be less involved day to day, and for me to be an owner, but not not participate so much in what's going on, to enable me to otherwise do other projects that I can't do within the confines of Channel 2020.
Okay. So I think that's most of the questions I'd want to ask. I want to say thank you as well, Rob, for taking your time for the interview. And in terms of roles I'm thinking of taking into the future would be along the lines of editing and directing. And you've mentioned before editing and how not to be stuck with just editing. I suppose for me or people who want to take on the roles of editing and directing in the future for their own career pathway, what advice would you give to them if they're going to work in the industry in the future?
Create, get as much experience as you can. If you can't get in, good experience within companies, just make things that are absolutely incredible, and spend your time making things, not things that you like. Make things that you think other people will like, that you think will open up opportunities. I'll be honest, I've probably been more affected by what people have made before than the qualifications they get at university. There are many, I know I've taken people on who've got first-class degrees, honours degrees, who have been nowhere near as good as people who have got 2 2s, and it's simply because some people are geared towards academia, and some people, and academia, being an academic isn't necessarily just the qualities that are required for editing and camera work. It's having the vision, it's showing you've got the vision, showing you've got the editing skills, showing you've got some creativity, showing that you're not just too quirky. There's so many people come out of university and all they can show is a load of arty-farty films that nobody else understands. And for most businesses and broadcasters, they just think, well, I've got no idea what you like, because it just seems too wacky. So the main thing is to look at what are people making, and to try and make something as good as you possibly can. Get a good team of people who can support you, put good testimonials for you, who can create good testimonials for you, and just show your worth. Don't rely on a qualification, but try and get into the biggest companies that you possibly can for a start. Because you're that track record of knowing, whether it be a broadcaster, whether it be a bigger production company, try and get in the biggest and best you possibly can, because it's just good for your CV overall. But And there's so many people who do this type of thing, who want to get into this type of thing. You've got to look at what makes what makes you as an individual stand out. What is your thing? And it's got to be fantastic. You've got to show that you've got an incredible passion for it, and want to learn and want to ask questions and so on. So they're all the things that make the difference. Great work, and don't compromise. Well, I've done my best on it. You've just got to keep trying, reworking it, re-improving it, asking people what they think, how they think it could be improved, etc., and just keep improving.
Okay, and I think for a follow-up question, I remember you mentioned about you learning equipment by yourself. Would you advise people who want to get into the industry to perhaps try out for themselves by getting some filming equipment and trying out themselves the equipment to get some experience?
Absolutely. I mean, what you need, if it's going to be an all-consuming thing for you, and you're really passionate about trying to get into it, you will only do that if you've got your own kit in the early days. Not to be over-reliant, because you won't be able to go out at weekends and make things and experiment and try different things. Nearly all of the good people that I've ever known have had some kit. It doesn't have to be expensive kit. Kit's really cheap these days. But you can get some great kit for the home, and obviously, anybody can edit just on their standard software on the computer. So I think, but obviously, if you can get into using Premiere Pro or if you're going down the Avid route instead, or Media 100, or whatever that version is called these days. But yeah, I mean, just you've got to do it. You've got to do that, and it also shows that you're absolutely committed to it as well. When you start spending your own money on kit, you've really got to work. You've got to make it work for yourself.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have. So thank you very much for taking your time for the interview. It's been really interesting as well, and really good and helpful as well in terms of learning advice about what to go with in terms of my career. And I think it's just helpful in terms of, I think, for people in general who, like me, are university students who are going to eventually next year graduate and going to start working within the actual industry.
Okay, that's good, and good luck with everything. I mean, it's a big step, and but the first step is a really important one. Make sure you otherwise you can get stuck in something that isn't right for you, and just make sure that you really work to get your first place as a good place to be. Good stuff. Now, okay, shall I stop recording?
Yeah, the recording you can stop. I think that's I think that's every